I'm here with Don Hartung, founder and CEO of H3Systems, and we're doing an ongoing series for individuals, for people that need to have a better understanding of security and why it's so important. And one of the things that I think is really important to talk about is that as much as you want to help individuals, which you do, a big piece of what you really do as well is focus on businesses. Talk a little bit about how that relates, how you're working in what you do with businesses, from small businesses to enterprise level, really relates to the individual on a day-to-day basis, to the person who has the computer sitting in the corner that they get on there to look at videos at night.
It's kind of interesting to look at it. The enterprise gives us the ability to see a lot of traffic and things that happen. The small business, the individual doesn't necessarily have that exposure, and the individual, the reality is most of the time they're that small business and they have their work at home and at the office, and they need to make sure that all that is taken care of in a complete circle. So it really does apply to the individual, the small business, as well as the enterprise.
So it's an ongoing series that we're doing here, and really it's geared from everything from computers and networks to just, in the business side of things, we talk about policies and procedures, but for people, it's really about you having your common sense hat on when you're sitting at your computer, isn't it?
It is. And for people, the important thing to understand is a policy and a procedure is a business term, but what you do every day is a policy and a procedure. Most certainly, password managers. Do you have antivirus? Has that antivirus had any issues? It's those things that you don't think about as an individual that apply to you every day.
One of the things that came up last year was this whole Target breach. And I think a lot of individuals think to themselves, well, I got my information compromised, and Target said that they would give me a little something to monitor it and make sure that everything is okay. But that's pretty much where it stops and starts, right, Don?
For Target, maybe, but not for you. And here's where it is. So the one thing that does occur is they're not only trying to get your financials, they're trying to get your information. And so I'm certified in what's called ethical hacking, right? So I understand exactly what they do and how they do it. And what they do is they start gathering information. In counterintelligence, that's what we did. We gathered information. So I knew how to exploit the target. The target is you. So you may not have $1 million in your bank account, but you've got a machine I can use to launch attacks from. You may have other data. You may have other people that I know that I want to get to, because I'll do the research. I'll go to your Facebook page. I'll go to your LinkedIn account. I'll look to see who you were friends with.
Right.
And maybe ultimately, I don't want you, I want somebody else, but you're my first step into that area. So financially, you're at risk, because now I've got your information and I'm going to start looking at it and I'm going to exploit where I can. Everybody else that's in that list too are at risk, and it goes full circle. So again, it's crime. Criminals look for targets of opportunity. You are a target of opportunity when you're breached in these manners.
Talk a little bit about how that whole thing went down, what hackers, or whatever we're calling them these days, were able to get, and kind of what the impact has been since.
You bet. So the Target breach. Target is a multinational company with lots of resources and money, security teams in place. They have the resources, they have money, they have staff. They got hacked, right? Compromised. I mean, the hack is the big media word, hack. Just call it a compromise is what it was. How did it occur? So the experts in the field have all clearly stated it was done through a third party. So the understanding is that the HVAC vendor, they were the ones who were compromised. Their system was malware hacked. It got compromised, and they had permission to get into the network for Target. They got in. There were alerts that went off to notify the security staff, but that's part of the problem. Without getting technical, that's part of the problem with security alerts. If you can imagine all the traffic that goes on, there's a lot of it. So some fundamental processes failed. That's step number one. That's important to understand. That could have relayed a lot of it. But number two was that once they got in, they compromised the server, and then they compromised the point of sale systems. So while Target wasn't a direct hack, target was indirectly attacked, which is how a lot of these happen. They don't go necessarily right after you. They may try it. They'll probe.
Right.
But when they realize that your walls are up and defenses are there, they're going to find another way in, and this which they did.
So the story is the systems at the HVAC vendor get compromised. That compromise ends up on one of the technician's machines. The technician goes in, he plugs into the systems that are on the network. Everything's on the network now. So they plug into the network, and that exploit that's on his system now gets into target systems.
Right. So that's the command and control. So malware, the different variations of malware, but basically they have what's called a command and control. Once it logs in, it calls home. Once it calls home, then they can use an exploited system or server, could be your computer at home, potentially, to launch additional attacks against it. And then once they're in, we haven't talked about this, but currently it's 209 days of systems that have reported compromises, 209 days undetected that somebody's been in their network, and it was found by a third party afterwards. And then it's about 63, 68 days from that point to stop the breach and try to start remediating the issues. So think about it, 209 days that somebody was in, and probably even potentially longer with target. And those are just the ones that have been reported.
Right.
So important to know that once they're in and they've exploited it, what did we see in the news? Target got hacked.
When you look at this whole target piece, and that, even though it didn't seem to relate initially to me as an individual, I now see that all of a sudden there are these people that have all kinds of information about me, because we know I've been to Target a bunch of times, and my information is probably in something that's been breached. And I also understand that this is a first step for people to get into my system, whether it's the last four of my social or something like that I may use as in a password. Talk about the steps that you're going to bring to me that are going to help me to prevent anybody from accessing my machine or using it as a place to jump off and go after other information.
Sure, you bet. So you as a consumer, as an individual, there's many things you can do. The first thing you want to do, obviously, if there's been a breach, you get the nice letter from the company. Well, let's leave it generic, not just Target, but you get a letter that says, we've been breached. We're giving you a year of identity theft. Mm-hmm. Well, great. You may have gotten 3 of those this year. So the thing you then need to start doing is really paying attention. It's common sense stuff that we all don't do, right? Look at your checking accounts. Look at your credit accounts. Look what's on there. See what charges are occurring. Be cautious of your mail, and this is where our service can really provide value, because we'll do security awareness training for the individual. Because that email that the corporate guy might get, we'll send to you and you'll click on it. Because it may be, oh yeah, by the way, your Bank of Omaha card was compromised. Please click here to give us some more information to take care of that. And you're not thinking about it. You click on it. You've just been exploited. Again, so the individual, again, is a big target. You really want to do things that help reduce the possibility of identity theft. And that's kind of your bigger concern, right? If your accounts have to be changed, and I'm dealing with a couple individuals right now that have this, and I can tell you, it takes well over a year to fully get these things fixed, if ever. And, you say, well, what about me? Well, now children have Social Security numbers.
Right.
And so if you're not doing those things, so we offer a service that will monitor for you and your family. But if you're not doing those things that look at those items, suddenly now when your son or daughter turns 15 or 16 and they go to get credit and they go, we've already got credit. How did that happen? It's those items. It's the things that affect you personally and directly that we can help look at and advise you on what to do to help prevent that from happening.
One of the things that we should really talk about is there's, I think, a standard kind of default understanding of what a guy coming in to secure my systems if I've been breached, that sort of thing. I'm going to put in new virus software. I'm going to maybe restore your backup if it was that serious, that sort of thing. That is a fraction of what you're bringing to the table, isn't it?
It is, because you've talked about a couple things that are kind of misnomers of the industry. It's restore from backup. Well, what if the backup's compromised? You didn't do anything. You restored the virus again. and you say, restore from backup. New antivirus or updated antivirus. Antivirus can be bypassed relatively easily. So really the first thing is always make sure you're patched, right? Patching is number one. Secure passwords is number two. Yes, you have to have backups. Yes, you have to have antivirus. But really, if you have weak passwords, antivirus isn't going to stop it. And it doesn't have to be hard. So things like that. So I recommend password managers. There's some good software out there that will help you to manage passwords. They can be very complex and difficult to break.
Right.
But you don't have to worry about it because they'll do it. The bank does this for you with credit cards, some of them. They'll actually give you a temporary one-use credit card number it's attached to your account, but it's really good for one use.
Right.
So they've got those type of things. That's the value that we'll bring into you as an individual. We'll make sure those items are done so that you can go, wow, I don't have password 1234 as a password. Right. And I got the same password everywhere I've been because it's easy to remember. And I can't remember 20. We'll give you tips and tricks on how to create effective passwords. And the multi-factor authentication will teach you how to use that and how to do that. So all the things that the big companies do, generally speaking, we'll teach you how you can do it. So you're not technically having to do a whole bunch of stuff, but it becomes part of your routine.
And I think one of the things that must be really important from your standpoint is getting people to understand that once you have something that's a little more sophisticated than password 123, you don't even think about it anymore.
Right. And the other thing that you should always do is you change your password on a regular basis. But we don't because we can't remember them. So the password manager helps you with that. Most certainly, and get in a routine of doing those things, making sure that everything that you can do to protect yourself is done.
When you say making sure that you've done everything you can do, there's a better way to do that, which is just to hire you.
Well, most certainly. I mean, I think it goes without saying, hiring me to come in and help you. Bringing me in before anything happens is really the time to do it because then you're way ahead of the game. Right, bringing me in after the fact, at that point, if you do get compromised, right, you call law enforcement. They're going to come out and take a report. They're going to do what they can, where they can. But you're now in a reactive mode. You want to be proactive about it. You do it, like I said, I'll use the car again. You're going on a trip. Do you get in the car and drive, or do you get gas, put air in the tires, clean the windows? Proactivity is going to be your friend. And that's where H3 Systems is going to solve those issues for you.
And then you're going to be their friend for a long time to come with regular check-ins, letting them know of anything they should be aware of, that sort of thing.
Oh, certainly. So that's part of the service is we actually will, on a monthly basis, we'll send you a newsletter, which got information in it. As we see breaches coming out and they get severe, we'll actually reach out to you to make sure. Because while you can set software to do the automatic updates for you, and say, okay, that's good. My IT guy looks at it, or my friend checks it, or I check it. If there's been a breach that's significant, it may not update for another 2 or 3 days. They don't need that much time, right? These guys are out there with code that's been written, and it scans and it looks for version 1234. And it's vulnerable maybe for only 2 hours.
Right.
That's all they need. They don't need days and weeks. This is a new world. They are in and looking and checking. They find the vulnerability right now. They get in, they're done. You patch it later, well, it's too late. What is the analogy? The gate's already open to the barn.
Yeah.
And the cows are out running around.
Yeah.
It's too late at that point.
Right. If you're a person that's not sure whether you're doing things right from a security standpoint, and I can't imagine there are very many people who feel like they know everything that they need to know security-wise, you're a great guy to call.
I'm the guy, and another way I would think about it is when you look at that report on the news and said, company X has been hacked, and you sit there and think, wow, I'm so glad it's not me, or I hope I don't get hacked. That's when you know you need to be talking to somebody named Don at H3 Systems.
Hope is not the ideal solution for your security needs.
Hope is not the solution for your security needs.
Don Hartung, founder and CEO, H3 Systems. You can be reached at h3systems.com. That's the number 3, h3systems.com. And also at 707-287-7376. Thanks.
Thank you.